Let's get one thing straight first. I'm loving Elden Ring, I'm really enjoying it, but this isn't a 10 out of 10, 5 stars, the best game ever made, whatever you want to call it. Don't talk shit. This isn't our typical review with some stupid jokes thrown in like we usually do. It's more of a quick rant really, because I just felt like certain things need to be said. Anyone who's subscribed to this channel will know we always try to be fair and reasonable, looking for positives and looking for negatives. We're thinking of you, the viewer. We look for why would someone enjoy this game and why would someone hate to play this game. So if you're part of the Soulsborne blinkered community who'd already decided that this game was perfection before even playing it, then feel free to give this video a dislike and come at me in the comments. My old man always said someone who has to say they don't give a shit usually gives more of a shit than everybody else, but just to be abundantly clear, I do not give a solitary shit if you're offended that I don't believe this game to be gaming perfection. And to be honest, I think the entitled, toxic and pretentious attitudes found in certain communities within gaming are the reason why this game scored 10s across the board. I've played and finished every FromSoft game from the original Demon's Souls onwards, so I knew I was going to enjoy this, and again, just to be clear, I recommend Elden Ring. I really am enjoying it. We don't give scores on our channel though, because they're so arbitrary and open to interpretation when compared against another game's scores that the scores eventually start to lose all meaning. I could tell that so many reviewers were petrified of giving this anything but a perfect score out of fear from the Soulsborne community's backlash. I've got so much time for some of the reviewers, but there was such a glaringly obvious reluctancy to say anything bad at all while making excuses for bugs, stuttering, frame drops and some horrible lagging issues, then going on to applaud things beyond their deserved recognition with open world game design that doesn't have quest markers, which in my opinion is great and so immersive, but the reviews were banging on like it's the first game ever to just plonk you in a map and say, hey, I have at it, like FromSoft are the new pioneering geniuses of open world games now. The level design and topography of the lands between is amazing and thoroughly enjoyable to explore, but it's not exactly groundbreaking. I can sympathise with some reviews. I mean, hell, I can't remember the game that she was talking about, but I do remember Alana Pierce once saying she cried before making a video because she didn't enjoy the game and knew her opinion would be battered by an angry mob of pathetic gamers. That just sucks, man. It really sucks. It really does. I felt for her, but you've got to do it, man. You've got to deliver your opinion as best as you can, and fuck what some entitled pubescent shitbag thinks. Patch 1.02 came out prior to release, and ACG posted a video the same day stating how much worse Elden Ring performs, and even he, who in my opinion is the most honourable, non-bullshit, viable reviewer on YouTube, even though I don't always agree with his opinion, but I respect the zero agenda honesty. Even he was reluctant to be the bearer of bad news because the performance of Elden Ring in particular on PC right now, it just isn't good enough. But he did it. He made a new video and even put a little note in his review title to point viewers to his latest video, which highlights the fact that the already poor performance was completely tanked by patch 1.02. Elden Ring struggling to hit 60 FPS on consoles consistently at least now anyway, and if that, as well as stuttering, the freezes and the reliance on variable refresh rate isn't a problem for you, then that's great. But I think next gen gamers care about performance now, especially seeing as there's a choice to prioritise performance over resolution. I experienced some serious stutters during my network test on PS5, which was mentioned in our impressions video in the hope that they'd be fixed, but if anything, they're worse now. I'm now playing on a 3090 with max settings at 4K, and I'm still seeing regular dips in my frame rate and stuttering, which seems to be linked to certain combat animations, and again, that's just not good enough. The endless amount of streamers too, showcasing bugs and just casually playing through them as if the game freezes like this that stop the game for 3 to 5 seconds then suddenly speeds up again isn't the worst possible thing to happen in a boss fight or even in a game that is so dependent on your timing and your reflex skills. Again, I feel like I have to keep reiterating my point though that I do think Elden Ring is an incredible game. It sounds like I don't think that, but I do. But there's something very broken and wrong with the industry industry when we annihilate certain games for having bugs and performance problems, yet with other games we completely ignore them, either because the community that supports that developer has released a new game and created such hype around that game, or the consumer just digs their heels into the ground and refuses to admit that they might have been wrong. And by the way, I believe FromSoft fully deserve the appreciation and respect that gamers have for their previous games, but we can't start ignoring flaws because the industry's standards will just crumble and deteriorate before we even know what's happened. We've seen the standards drop in so many other AAA games, and again I blame the lack of repercussions for an average or even below average standard of game, and if gamers keep accepting that standard and buying their products year after year, why should they make changes or improvements when they know you'll just buy it either way? Performance issues are part of every game, but not only is performance so massively important in a Soulsborne game that the engine is still locked to 60 FPS in 2022, which I can live with, but these freezes, drops and stutters, they just can't be accepted, man. These optimization issues are very fixable and hopefully they will be fixed soon, but it doesn't stop there either. I've just come off Horizon Forbidden West and the accessibility options in that game were phenomenal, in particular because it was a console game. The issue here though is more for PC players, but those of you who want to and sometimes need to play with a keyboard and mouse, well, you can't. You can't rebind your keys because when you do, you're locked into the menu, and then when playing the game, the interface and button prompts are locked as an Xbox controller, which means you've got to guess which key to press until you figure out the layout. This is basic stuff and something that doesn't affect me personally because I play on controller, but not everybody does. For some, the game is literally unplayable because of this. How can that possibly be the perfect game? Then there's the question that so many gamers who've struggled with previous FromSoft games have been asking: is there an easy mode, or is the game more welcoming to newcomers? No, there isn't an easy mode, and I'm not sure there ever really should be in these sort of games, but I do think the non-linear freedom to explore, as well as the new Ashes of War, magic skills, the new sort of tutorial dungeon at the start of the game, and the on-screen text tutorials as well, these all provide a much more welcoming experience to players who might have been on the cusp of playing and enjoying a FromSoft game. But this is what FromSoft were going for. Clearly they wanted to broaden their market, increase their sales, get George R.R. Martin on the scene, create some hype and attract new audiences. You can't blame them. But let's not pretend this game is an all-welcoming, one-for-all accessible game, because if you hated Dark Souls or Bloodborne or Demon Souls or Sekiro, then you'll more than likely hate Elden Ring 2. There will definitely be an increase in FromSoft's fan base, and rightly so. The game and FromSoft themselves deserve it because I'm a huge fan of their games, but the fact that so many people aren't a fan, in fact I'd say the majority of gamers aren't into the Soulsborne series, then how can it possibly be considered the best game ever made? That makes no sense to me, just like the subjective statement the best game ever made makes even less sense to me. One final reiteration though, Elden Ring is an incredible game for fans of the FromSoft games, and these issues will likely be fixed, but a lot of consumers and reviewers need to wind their necks in a little, I think, because there's so much middle ground between treating a game like the laughing stock of the industry and then lauding something as gaming perfection and labeling it as the best game ever made. I think everyone needs to just calm the fuck down, me included.